All right, guys, what's up, team? Happy Sunday. It's Sunday. We got a little bit of time off from markets. Bitcoin's still open, though. It's almost at 109,000. We got Jerome Powell speaking at Princeton. Yeah, in like 25 minutes, 20 minutes or so. Let me know if the music's good. Sounds pretty good on my end, but let me know what you guys are seeing. 20 minutes or so. Hope you guys are doing good today. It is Sunday. Yeah. We're here. Bitcoin currently at 108.3s. We can take a look at bond yields and some other stuff. Yeah. What's up, Moonwalker, Yowzer, Pawn, Papa Pump, Roth, Alien Guy, Tristan, Fernando, Julie, Sports, Milk, Fibonacci Guy, Margin Call Mike, Gambler, Carol. What's up, chat? Ja. Yeah, we'll see if he says anything about the economy. I'm not sure, to be honest. I'm going to stream it because I stream every time Jerome Powell speaks. I tend to stream it, but yeah. We'll put a timer up here as we wait for it. We got about 20 minutes left or so. All right, here's the timer. NASDAQ still closed. NASDAQ opens up in a couple minutes. So we'll see what that looks like. What's up, GP? What's up, Calvin? Yeah, Jerome Powell speaking. Remember, the markets are mostly closed tomorrow. And so markets are mostly closed tomorrow. I think the futures market is open, but indexes or indices are closed. The stock market itself is closed. So, yeah. Again, taking a look at bond yields here. We can take a look at stuff. Bond yields have been rising most of the weekend right now. Last time, yeah, last time they were open, they're at 4.5% right now, 4.5%. So you can see bond yields right here. They're over 4.5% still. You can see the last week we went up a lot on the Moody's downgrade. You know, basically Moody's downgraded the U.S. credit rating to essentially AA+. Whatever Moody's calls AA+ is what they gave it. Because like bond prices and bond yields per supply and demand inverse each other. What we saw originally when Moody's downgraded the U.S. credit is that we saw a spike in yields because bonds got sold off, right? So if bond prices go down, yields go up. As we got closer to the weekend last week, you know, bond yields started to decrease on a little bit stronger economic reports. You know, economy was a little bit stronger than expected. Made people, you know, or I think maybe we had some weakness in the economy. Let me see what we got. I forgot exactly what it was. We had the EU talks. The president came out speaking, which made bond yields go down, which made people worried about weakness in the economy, actually, is what happened. And so last week, the president said talks with the European Union have gone, quote, nowhere. He said 50% tariff for Europe is coming June 1st if they don't make a deal. This led to a decline in stocks and futures and a rise in treasury yields, with 10-year yields climbing up to back over to 4.5%. Which is a little strange considering like yields and interest rates tend to follow each other. And if we're going to get weakness in the economy, typically you'd see a lower interest rate sentiment. But I think people interpret it as worried about inflation. Like problems with Europe and trade make people worried about inflation. And so because interest rates, in order for interest rates to be cut, we need inflation and price stability to be under control. Basically, we need low inflation or price stability to be here. And if we don't have that, with troubles going on with the European Union, you know, people tend to gravitate towards a, you know, higher interest rate sentiment. Although we did start to get dips towards the end of last week. Monday was the 23rd. So Monday we did actually have some prices go down. Or we did have yields go down a little bit. So they've been kind of back and forth, up and down. They're still pretty high, though. Over 4.5% high. Yeah, I know. I agree, Matt. It's just a recommendation of 50%. We'll see if he actually does it, but it's definitely not good. It freaked people out for sure last week. Yeah, I don't even know if this is going to really move anything. You know what I mean? I really don't. Yeah, I'll get Uncle T. I got you, bro. What's up, Faye? Emergency cut on Tuesday? I doubt it. I wouldn't be mad if they cut, but I don't think they will. I would rather us have price stability before we cut, though. Like, I've said this many times. I'm very open about it. Like, I would rather have price stability than have low interest rates. Like, if I had to pick one, inflation not spiking or low interest rate environment, I'd pick inflation not spiking. Because inflation should scare everybody here more than anything else, personally. Especially in the climate of the last 5 years where inflation has gotten so bad. Prices are freaking ridiculous. It should scare everybody. You know, the only people really pushing for low interest rates are lenders, banks. You know what I mean? Like, banks and lenders, of course, they want low interest rates because they do more deals and stuff like that. But the banks honestly like high interest rates as well. It's mostly like lenders and people who work on that front. Real estate, they want low interest rates. A couple segments. All right, we're going to do a poll. Yeah, so let's take a look at the rate cut odds here ahead of Jerome Powell. I don't even know if he's going to speak about economics today, Chad. Again, just to clarify, we'll see. I don't know what he's going to speak about. I don't know if he's going to speak about... I really don't know. But when we look at the odds for rates, all right, currently we're at about 95.5. Technically, if we round up, we're at 94.6%. So a cut is currently at about 5.6%. A pause for early, or mid next month, I think it's June 18th, is at 94% if we round down. So it's 94 to 6% odds of a pause next month in June. We'll see if we do. I think it's pretty probable. The only way we wouldn't get a pause in June is if we have like weak economic data and low inflation. You know, so if we got weak economic data and low inflation, the odds of a cut will increase because we have more of a green light to cut with price stability, and we have more justification to cut rates with weak economics. So yeah. Still got 20 minutes before Big Papa Jerome Powell comes to speak. We'll see what he says. I don't know what he's going to say. But let's see what this looks like. Yeah, Jerome Powell is going to be... trying to make sure he's not speaking early. Hold on. I'm going to mute the music for a second. I just want to make sure I got this.
And then President Biden appointed Jpow to serve as chair of the Federal Reserve, the Senate confirmed him by overwhelming and bipartisan votes. Though Powell has one of the most important economic policy jobs in the world, he did not earn his Princeton degree in economics or in public affairs. Indeed, one might say that his illustrious career demonstrates the power of a liberal arts education to prepare students for unanticipated roles and challenges. As an undergraduate, he majored in politics. He went on to take a job as a legislative assistant to Senator Richard Schweiker of Pennsylvania before matriculating at Georgetown Law School, where he was editor-in-chief of the Georgetown Law Journal. After his graduation from Georgetown, Powell clerked for Judge Ellsworth A. Van Graffeland of the United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit. He practiced as a lawyer and then transitioned to investment banking before joining the United States Department of the Treasury in 1990. He served first as the Assistant Secretary for Financial Institutions and beginning in 1992 as Under-Secretary of the Treasury for Domestic Finance. After another stint in the private sector, including as a partner at the Carlyle Group, he was appointed as a member of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System in 2012, eventually becoming chair in 2018. Given the Federal Reserve Board's power over the economy, journalists carefully scrutinize Powell's every move, including some that have little to do with banking or the economy. The public thus knows that Jpow is an avid cyclist, a rock and roll guitarist, and a deadhead. In other words, a fan of the Grateful Dead since his undergraduate days at Princeton. Leading journalists also report that Powell has a well-known penchant for wearing purple neckties.
The purple tie.
What a strange choice. I note with some relief, however, that when CNBC published a blurry photo of Chair Powell at a Grateful Dead concert in 2023, the ball cap on his head was not purple. It was bright orange. My faith in his good judgment was fully restored. We are very fortunate that the chair of the Federal Reserve will speak to us this afternoon. Please join me in welcoming Jpow of Princeton's great class of 1975.
Let me know if the sound's good. It should be pretty good, but
Good afternoon. And thank you very much, President Eisgruber, for the opportunity to speak here today and for that kind introduction. Congratulations to the Princeton
Thank you very much, President.
class of 2025 on the tremendous achievement of earning your degree, and to the parents, family members, friends, and mentors whose support and encouragement made this day possible. Give yourself a round of applause. So 50 years ago, I can't believe it, but 50 years ago, almost to the day, I was sitting where you are, and I was listening to a speaker deliver a speech, neither of which I can recall today. So what I plan to do today is to share some things with you that I believe would have been useful for me to hear back then. For those of you who are fundamentally unsure of your path, I was you. Rather than studying, I had spent my freshman year with fellow campus musicians playing my Martin D35 acoustic guitar. It was a high school graduation present and one that my parents surely regretted. While I still play that guitar, my freshman grades said clearly that I needed to get my act together academically, and by senior year, I had done so. But I had no real plan for life after Princeton. I'd grown up in Washington, D.C., majored in politics. As you know, Princeton graduates have a long and distinguished record of service to the nation and to humanity, and that left me with a single thought, which was that I wanted to have a private sector career and also serve periodically in government. I was thinking at the time of people like Princeton's George Shultz, who was a giant of that era. And there are, of course, countless examples across the political spectrum, including presidents, senators, members of Congress, governors, judges. Of course, most of those who serve, though, are not public figures. I could just as well point to classmates who devoted their working lives to teaching high school kids. For me, there's no higher calling, honestly. Many of my classmates and friends went straight into prestigious graduate schools, politics, Wall Street. Others went off to global capitals, the military, or the Peace Corps. I had brushed off my parents' one academic suggestion, which was to major in economics, which at that time struck me as, if I'm being honest, boring and useless. After 13 years at the Federal Reserve, I fully admit that I was completely wrong about that. After graduation, I had no plan and no job. I wound up putting labels on shelves in a warehouse for 6 months, and I didn't feel great about that. One of my closest friends was getting a master's at Stanford, and I could only think, nice going, Jay. You really nailed that. But in hindsight, that time in the warehouse was a blessing, and it was exactly what I needed. The next fall, I entered law school, and for the first time, I was highly resolved to make the most of the opportunity. You know what? We all move at our own pace, and that's okay. 50 years later, I can tell you something I did not know then. The vast majority of what you need to know about work, about relationships, about yourself, about life, you have yet to learn. And that itself is a tremendous gift. Over the remainder of your life, you can and you must continue to educate yourself and to grow as a person, becoming more focused on what really matters, more widely knowledgeable, better read, more disciplined, more strategic, but also wiser, kinder, more empathetic, more generous, more loving, more forgiving of others, and not least of yourself. Each of us is a work in progress, and the possibilities for self-improvement are limitless, which is a wonderful thing. Another thing I've realized is that while hard work, determination, and creativity matter a great deal to success in life, luck plays a big role too. All of us here are tremendously lucky. I know that at a handful of critical times in my life, I got really lucky, and that began at birth. My parents were well educated, and they gave the 6 Powell kids a safe, loving home, and they placed a high value on learning. They gave us everything we needed to thrive. That bit of luck led to the good luck that I share with all of you, the chance to earn a degree from America's finest university. Another thing that I've learned along the way is that as you strive in coming years to reach your full potential, you'll need to take risks, and yes, to make mistakes. Everyone, and I mean everyone, makes mistakes. Take it from an expert. But the bigger mistake is to avoid taking risks. If you're not failing from time to time, you're not asking enough of yourself. Sooner than you think, many of you will be asked to assume leadership roles. It is very, very common to feel, as I once did, that you're not ready. Just know that no one is really ready. All I can say to you is go for it. Throw yourself into the deep end of the pool, believe in yourself, take risks. When you fall down, and you will fall down, get up and repeat the cycle. And as you do assume higher responsibility, understand that a big part of your job is to bring along the people behind you. Be the leader that people can learn from, the one that people want to follow. My next point is closely related, and that is that a little bit of initiative at the right time can make all the difference. Initiative is the rocket fuel of life. Now, I'm no entrepreneur. I didn't start a major tech company, but as I look back, many of the most important developments in my life trace back to a few occasions where I showed just a little bit of initiative. I'll give you one example out of many. I was a very junior associate, and the man who ran my firm, Nicholas F. Brady, was a former United States Senator whose career had spanned the private sector and public service. I wanted to meet him, but realized ultimately I was going to have to make that happen. So one day, I finally forced myself to walk up the stairs to his corner office. I asked for an audience and was ushered in. I was very nervous. The meeting was very brief. And as I walked down those stairs afterward, I was thinking, well, at least I tried. To my great surprise, 2 months later, Nick Brady asked me to work on a project with him. And a year or so after that, he became the Secretary of Treasury of the United States. And in time, he asked me to serve under him as an Assistant Secretary of the Treasury. That enormously challenging role whet my appetite for further public service and ultimately proved to be a gateway for my appointment to the Federal Reserve Board. So, if I hadn't forced myself to walk up those stairs and take what I saw as a risky and potentially awkward step, I wouldn't be standing here today. I can think of long-term friendships and one marriage, my own, that turn on a moment's initiative. On occasions like that, we risk failure, awkwardness, embarrassment, and rejection. But that's how we create the career opportunities, the great friendships, and the loves that make life worth living. So, the combination of luck, the courage to make mistakes, and a little initiative can lead to much success. But know this: the world needs more from you than personal achievements and individual success. I strongly urge you to find time in your careers for public service. Since the founding of this great democracy 250 years ago, generation upon generation have assumed the burden and the honor of moving us closer to the ideal that all are created equal. Now, it's your turn. I ask you to take a minute and realize how the quest for these values has led us to this point in our history. We lead the world in so many ways, including in scientific innovation and economic dynamism. Our great universities are the envy of the world and a crucial national asset. Look around you, and I urge you to take none of this for granted. When you look back in 50 years, you will want to know that you've done whatever it takes to preserve and strengthen our democracy and bring us ever closer to the founders' timeless ideals. Those of you who are not entering the military or other public service may wonder, what's so great about public service? And I'll give you a recent example. In my 13 years at the Fed, the global economy has experienced a fair amount of turbulence and one outright crisis, the acute phase of the COVID-19 pandemic. With little warning, economies around the world came to a hard stop. Critical financial markets were near collapse. The possibility of a long, severe global depression was staring us in the face. Everyone turned to the government, and to the Federal Reserve in particular, as a key first responder. Career civil servants at the Fed, who were veterans of previous crises, stepped forward and said, "We got this." We took a range of aggressive measures to supply credit to the economy, many of them unprecedented, while the financial sector recovered. Others in government and the private sector did their part too. Through the joint efforts of many, we avoided the worst outcomes. It is hard to imagine the pressure that people feel at a time like that. Their collective efforts saved our economy, and the career civil servants involved deserve our respect and gratitude. It is my great honor to serve alongside them. That's what public service is like. So, with that luck that I mentioned comes great responsibility. You may recognize from the Gospel of Luke this quotation, "From everyone who has been given much, much will be demanded." As you navigate the world of bright possibilities that awaits you, I urge you to take on the challenge and the opportunity to serve your fellow citizens. You will never regret that choice. I have one last and key point. Your life matters, not just to you, but to the people who love you. 50 years from now, you'll want to be able to look in the mirror and know that you did what you thought was right in every part of your life. At the end of the day, our integrity is all we have. Guard it carefully. Thank you for your time, and congratulations to the great class of 2025.
Well, a couple things, guys. I'm sorry if I'm loud. Jerome Powell started early, man. He started 15 minutes early than scheduled. This was not me. Like, look at this, bro. Jerome Powell, when is he supposed to speak? He's supposed to speak at 2:40 Eastern Standard Time. It was over at 2:41. Jerome Powell, come on now. You got to get this right. How dare Jerome Powell start 10 minutes early, man? Hey, I appreciate you guys joining us. He didn't say anything about the economy. As I said, we probably wouldn't. Still, remember a couple things. There's a couple big things happening next week that you want to pay attention to that we're going to stream. We stream anytime Jerome Powell speaks, we'll stream it just in case he talks about the economy. He didn't in this case. That's okay. Yeah, I'm kind of glad I'm honestly not mad he started too early. But anyways, the point is we got a lot of stuff next week. We got NVIDIA earnings. We got the Fed minutes report. We have jobless claims unemployment. We have PCE inflation data, and we have GDP first revision data. The last time GDP came out, it came in at a minus 0.3% negative number for GDP, which means if we get a finalized negative print for GDP in the next couple months, we're halfway to a recession. We need 2 consecutive losing GDP quarters to equal a recession. And if we get a negative GDP quarter this month, we're halfway there. We got 1 out of 2. That happens next week. We have PCE inflation on Friday. So if you want to know whether the Fed is going to cut rates anytime soon, you want to pay attention to me on Friday at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. We get personal consumption expenditure. Core PCE is the big one. It's what the Fed, it's their preferred inflation metric that they look at. And so if we get low inflation, it's going to increase the odds of a rate cut. If we get high inflation, it's going to push back the odds of a rate cut and increase the odds of a pause. If we get weaker GDP data, it's going to increase the likelihood of a rate cut. I don't know by much, but it's almost certainly going to do that. And vice versa. If we get strong economic data, strong GDP data, it's going to push back the likelihood of a rate cut. That happens next week. We also have the Super Bowl of the stock market, NVIDIA earnings on Wednesday. An hour or two before NVIDIA earnings, we got the Fed minutes report as well, also going live on Wednesday that we will stream fully live right here. So if you haven't already, subscribe, hit the notification bell, be safe, be smart. And again, if you want to help support me, check out Top Step. Top Step is a great way to learn how to day trade. The futures market opens up in about an hour. Most of it is closed tomorrow, although I do think the futures market is open for a couple hours tomorrow morning, or at least the first half of the day. Remember, guys, most day traders lose. And so we can't guarantee anything. We're not an investment professional. I'm not liable if you lose money. Always make your own assessment. Trade smart. I can't guarantee anything here, chat. I can't guarantee anything here. Not an investment professional. Just be smart and be safe. Good luck. And again, if you want to check out Top Step, a great way to help support the channel. Top Step gives you a 50K demo, and they test your skill with it. If you pass the test, they fund you 50K, 90% split. You can also do the same thing with the $100 one. It's $100. You get a 100K funded account if you pass it. If you fail it, you only lose $100. And they also have a 150 version. This gives you a limited risk level that you're still risking something. You're learning to trade under pressure. You're learning to trade in a structured environment, following rules. And if you're good enough to pass it, it's a 90% split once you're funded. You get to keep your first 10K in profit. So it's very similar to funding your own account, just noticeably less risk in my personal subjective opinion. Great way to learn how to day trade. And in the futures market, I can day trade micro Bitcoin. I can day trade the S&P, the NASDAQ, the Dow, the Russell, gold, some currencies. Beautiful way to learn. And if you use my link and go to Top Step X, 0 commission, no PDT rule in futures, 0 commission on Top Step X, tiny amount of fees. Just the ideal, optimum way to learn, in my opinion, if you want to learn to day trade. Although, again, they pay me money. I am biased in their favor. Some would say I'm the top 3 most biased person ever. I'm biased. They pay me money. So if you want to check them out, here's the link. I appreciate the love. Thank you so much for the support. And I'm probably not going to stream tomorrow. The stock market's closed. The futures market's going to be so quiet and boring. I'm almost certainly not going to stream. I think I'm going to sleep in, or maybe go train jujitsu or something. So I'm just not going to, I'm not going to be streaming tomorrow. So we'll take the day off. I'm going to enjoy the day off. I don't think anything's going on. We have no economic data, basically. Let me make sure. Yeah, we have nothing scheduled, no economic data. It's going to be boring trading. It's Memorial Day. Almost nobody is going to be trading markets. I think it's going to be sideways. So I would just be careful tomorrow. And yeah, y'all enjoy the day. Y'all be safe. I love you all. Have a great day. Be safe, guys. Appreciate you guys joining me. And yeah, you could trade Sunday. It opens up, I think, at like 5 o'clock Sunday or something like that. Let me see. So futures market open up. Some of them open up at 8 a.m. I thought they opened up at, CME futures open up at 6 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday. So that's 5 o'clock Central, 6 p.m. Eastern. That is 3 hours, 15 minutes from now. Hey, I appreciate the love, Vegas. Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate it, Allison. Thank you, Tony. And, yeah, Powell started 10, 15 minutes early. I don't know why he did that, bro. I don't know why. Shout out to Mitch. I saw my boy, Money Mitch. Hope you're doing good, brother. I haven't seen you comment. He was speaking, so I couldn't really say anything to you, but good to see you, Mitch. Hope you're doing good, brother. Hey, I'll see you guys later. Y'all be safe. Again, markets close mostly tomorrow. Futures markets slightly open, but again, I don't think I'm going to stream. I'll see you guys Tuesday. We got durable goods, CB consumer confidence, Neil Kashkari speaking. We got Case-Shiller house price index. Yeah, we got a whole bunch of stuff next week. So just be careful. Be ready. We're going to stream all the big stuff next week. Subscribe if you haven't. And if you want to watch every single market thing, subscribe. Hit the notification bell.